At this point, I am itching so badly to get out to the garden. It is still so freaking cold. The ground is still frozen solid, and it is supposed to snow a metric buttload for the next 3 days. I need to move. Besides the point, let's talk about our zones. Last frost dates, I'd argue it's probably not going to be on time this year, along with microclimates. So those 3 things are very different, and they all cause 3 very different things to happen when we're growing perennials or when we're growing annuals. I very recently did a live stream, and the idea of zones and USDA zones versus Canadian zones and all of that started coming up in conversation. So I thought I need to do a video on this because zones are one thing that are valid and valuable for some things. And then there's last frost dates, which are valuable and need to be considered for others and make zones kind of obsolete. But then furthermore, there's microclimates, which is essentially the difference between a container, a raised garden, the front yard, the backyard, east, west, south, north, you name it. And so I thought I need to put together a video that goes through the intricacies of all 3 of those things to help you determine where perennials should be planted, when they should be planted, when do you transplant outdoors, do you start seeds? When do you start seeds, etc., and so forth? And if you don't know who I am, hi, hello, my name's Ashley. I have a bachelor's of science in soil science. I like to take that science applied to all things plants. So things like temperature differentials, soil temps, zones, all that is right up my alley, to say the least. Plus, I'm a real human being. See, I can put 3 fingers in front of my face and they're not warped. That means I'm not AI, by the way. So you should hit that subscribe button because AI is taking over YouTube, unfortunately. YouTube tells me my top 3 contending channels I'm trying to beat out, and over half are AI. So that's wonderful. Okay, so here's the thing. What are zones? Zones are interesting. The American zone is the coldest temperature your area can get to in the winter. So it is the coldest temperature. So if you get really, really cold, minus 40, then you're a zone 3 or 2 or something like that in America. And that is the only factor. It does not factor in how warm your winters get. It does not factor in how warm your summers get. It doesn't factor in the average cool days in a winter, nothing like that. It's literally the coldest day of the year that sets your zone for the US. For Canada, it is the coldest day of the year. It is your elevation, your precipitation, your humidity levels. It's a much more complicated system, which is why it's not a linear system. It's like apples to oranges. There's no linearity to that. So if we were to compare apples to oranges, or apples to apples, I guess, and take just the lowest temp compared to the lowest temp in America, generally speaking, a zone 3 in Canada is somewhere around a zone 4 in America. So I'm in a zone 3 Canada. In America, I'd be considered zone 4. Now, this is built over 30 years of data. So recently, Agriculture, Agri-Foods Canada, as well as the USDA, did change our zones. I think we all kind of got bumped up or down depending on the last 30 years of data. The last 30 years have changed enough to warrant us moving up or down zones accordingly. Now, what this means is that if we are solely looking at the coldest day of the year, not the number of coldest days, precipitation, elevation, nothing like that, if we're just looking at coldest day, uno day, what we're looking at is cold survivability. And that means that our zones really only pertain to our perennial survivability or our perennials' resistance to cold. So essentially, the way that perennials survive in an environment is, in particular a cold environment, is through 3 main factors. Its ability to resist ice crystal formation within the leaves, stems, shoots, and roots. Obviously, to then resist cell membrane rupture from those crystallized components, and then dehydration damage if it does occur. So a tree that's meant for a zone 5 oftentimes will grow just fine in a zone 3. It's not until it hits that coldest day till everything just wheels off the truck type scenario. That's factor number 1. So the ability for the cell membranes to resist rupture when things get too cold. It's number 1. Number 2, it's actually what many of us refer to as vernalization or chill hours, if you will. So what this means is the cool triggering dormancy hormones to take over, which in turn triggers things like growth, going to bed, flowering, that sort of stuff. So an example of this is things like apples, cherries, garlic. All of these plants need a cool break in order to trigger that future growth that we then consume. Without it, we end up with poor growth. So we will still end up with garlic growing, but it just won't do what we want it to. Now, what this means is that if you were to grow something in my zone, a zone 3, grow a zone 4 plant in my zone, then we could maybe get away with it. If we have a few mild winters, we may be able to get away with it for several years. It isn't until we get that really extreme year that defines us as zone 3 to take place before we end up with detrimental effects and ultimately the die-off of that perennial. So if you have a perennial that's meant for not your zone, and you say to yourself, well, it's been living fine for years and years, and now suddenly it died, it's probably because you finally got cold enough within your zone that it caused the damage that can happen in your cooler climate. Now, number 2 is microclimates. Now, this is the difference between containers, raised beds, in grounds, front of your yard, back of your yard, the number of trees you have, etc., and so forth. What this is saying in scientific terms is it's changing your thermal mass storage. So the amount of heat or thermal activity, if you will, that takes place within that specific area. A south-facing wall can and will be several degrees warmer than a north-facing wall. What this means is that if you have a plant that is a zone 4 plant and you are in a zone 3, and you think to yourself, I have a garden bed. It is slightly raised. It is completely encapsulated with cement. It is right up against my house. I've got a big old driveway in front of it, and it's south-facing. I'm saying this from experience. I could put a zone 4 plant in that place. It's probably going to be fine. And it will, likely will. That perennial probably will be fine. You could probably press those bounds because you've got a microclimate in that scenario. Now, furthermore, if you've got a zone 3 plant and you think to yourself, it can grow here, but you actually have a north-facing, very cold, heavily exposed area, there's a possibility even that zone 3 plant's probably not going to do well because that microclimate is a heck of a lot colder than the average norm that is your region. So that can be a catch-22. Now, this doesn't apply to just perennials. It also applies to annuals. If you've got plants that don't like a ton of heat and heat causes them to bolt, lettuce, a lot of brassica species, for example, these plants, when planted in a microclimate that is warmer, can and will bolt sooner than something that is a cooler microclimate. So if you know I'm likely going to have boltage in this plant for the season of July, you can actually move that plant to a microclimate that is in known fact to be cooler and end up with actually way better results. So definitely consider that when you're looking at growing plants and where you want to put them. FrostFree Dates. Now, this is your true calendar when it comes to growing plants, annuals, or perennials outdoors. This is your last spring frost and your first winter frost. The time between that is your true growing window. Frost forms due to 3 main factors. You're probably just thinking, well, when the temperature decreases, frost forms, but that's actually not the truth. There's 3 factors that make this. Number 1 is the loss of radiant heat. That means the heat from the soil, the cement, the concrete jungle, all of these things factor into that. Furthermore, a container is going to stay a heck of a lot warmer for a heck of a lot longer than something that's in ground in a cool area. Clear skies, calm winds, all of these things also will actually delay frost from taking place. So you can actually have the exact same zone in both America, 2 to 3 weeks more or less growing time, which means 21 days longer. So you put that in the back of your head. You get a packet of seeds and it says 90 days to harvest, and you've got 21 extra days. That's almost 25% more days to make this dream happen. So it is actually quite a big deal. Now, the true driver between when things can be harvested, how well things perform, is what we call heat units. It has nothing to do so much with the microclimate or the zone or the first and last frost dates on their own, but it's a combined trifecta of all 3. And that's truly what we're trying to look at or aim for when we're talking about growing. What this is referencing is something called growing degree days, growing degree units. And this is the amount of usable heat a plant can get. Plants need heat to flower. Peppers need heat to flower and to form. All plants need heat. They don't need number of days. You can give it an infinite number of days, but if the heat is not present, the plant will not perform. That is why last year was very cold where we are, and we have a very cool summer. And a lot of us didn't get good harvests. It's because we didn't have that heat unit we needed. We had the days, we had the sun, but we didn't have the warmth. Now, unfortunately, you can't plan, protect, or change this. The only way to change this is through low tunnels, wallow waters, raised tunnels, and greenhouses. And this is why people who are trying to grow, for example, watermelons in a really cool climate typically will use things like low tunnels or greenhouses to grow them. And it comes down to quite literally trying to get more heat units. They're not looking for more daylight. They're not looking for longer extended seasons. They're looking to accumulate more units of heat per day. So you have a day that's 20 degrees Celsius, 25 degrees Celsius, but you can make it closer to 25 degrees Celsius, 30 degrees Celsius, 35 degrees Celsius. So long as you don't go too high and you're kind of in that comfort realm, you end up with really good results. So let's break this down into layers, because that's kind of the best way to think about this. Layer 1 is your zone. What can survive my winter? What perennials do I want to plant based on the survival likelihood within my winter? Layer number 2 is your frost dates. How long do I need to grow the plant, and how many days of frost-free do I have in my zone? The third layer is your GDD, your heat units. Can I grow it because it's frost-free for 120 days? Yes. But do I have enough heat units to allow for that plant to fully mature? Well, that is actually just a quick Google search. Number of growing degree days needed for XYZ plant. And then you can furthermore actually Google how many growing degree days for Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and it will tell you how many growing degree days you have accumulated to date in your area. Big surprise here, Saskatoon, for all your Saskatchewanians that are watching, and then part of the Geek Crew, and there's several of you. 0. I know, it's a shocker. I was shocked as well, but we're at 0 so far. But regardless of that, the number of units collected will actually give you a pretty good idea when things are going to be ready to harvest. And if you're not accumulating units fast enough, so say you're saying to yourself, I'm collecting 100 units per day, but I only have X amount of days to get there. I need to collect more units. What you could technically do is put a low tunnel over top of that little space, so a little watermelon garden, put a little low tunnel on top, and then make sure your temperature goes up enough, and now you're accumulating more units. So fun fact, if you're really nerdy, I can do a whole video literally just on that. Please let me know in the comments down below and I can do that for you. I just don't know how far to push the envelope all the times with you guys when it comes to plant science and that. Unfortunately, I'm slightly a slave to the algorithm just based on the nature of what is YouTube. And so because of that, I do try to steer away from that because I find those videos don't perform as well. But if you want that, subscribe button, comment, and I can make it happen because I love you guys. Anyways, then layer 4 is your microclimates. So that is, where does things go in my yard? So if you're accumulating too many units too fast, put it in a cooler microclimate in your garden. If you need more heat units, put it in a container and put it in a warmer place. Do you need to move things into the greenhouse to be able to get a longer frost-free period? Possibly. Make it happen. Anyways, with that being said, Geek Crew, I love you guys so much. I will talk to you guys next time. This is what Google says to watch because they're watching you. And that is my latest and greatest video. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.